Good Lord. And thus concludes my reaction cinematograph to Moby Dick. We commonly associate whaling with the 19th century and the tale of Moby Dick, but humans have been hunting whales for much, much longer. Early petroglyphs from Korea show whale hunts from 5,000 years ago. Whales would have been hunted for their meat and bones, and almost all of the whale would have been used. Meat, skin and blubber would have been eaten, baleen and bone would have been used to construct things like tools and, in some cases, even roofing for houses. And as the years progressed, whale blubber could be boiled and that would be used as an oil. Right whales were particularly unfortunate in this because they were slow and had quite a lot of blubber, and they even gained their name right whales because they were the right whales to hunt. As whaling gained popularity in Europe and North America, sperm whales became more vulnerable despite their lack of blubber. This was because it was found that the spermaceti fluid in their heads could be used in burning lamps and for lubricating machinery. Throughout history, whaling was simply driven by the demand for their product, with no particular concern or focus for their sustainability. In the mid-19th century came the invention of steamships, and now faster species like the blue whale and the fin whale could be hunted, and whaling expeditions were now so successful that ships had to journey even further to places like the Arctic and Antarctic to find whales to hunt. And in 1909, the largest animal ever, a female blue whale at 33.5 meters in length, was hauled onto a whaling station in the South Atlantic. In the 1920s came factory ships that could haul entire whale carcasses on board, allowing for expeditions to remain at sea for several months and to continue catching whales. From 1930 to 1931, approximately 30,000 blue whales were caught on these factory ships. As whale populations went through massive declines, the International Whaling Commission was convinced to bring an end to massive amounts of commercial whaling. Subsistence whaling, which is sustainable by Inuit populations, is still allowed. However, there are legal loopholes allowing for things like scientific whaling. This is currently exploited by Norway, Iceland and particularly Japan, and this is largely opposed by the rest of the world. A more recent phenomenon than whaling is cetaceans, namely dolphins and orcas, being kept in captivity. SeaWorld has long been a figurehead for this, with their popular orca shows. This has also been massively controversial. These animals would spend pretty much their entire lives in these small tanks compared to the vast open ocean which they would naturally inhabit. At the time of this recording, the world is in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, and people are being asked to stay in their homes to prevent the spread of the virus. This hasn't even gone on for a whole year, and yet so many people are finding it difficult. This can hardly be compared to the lives of these orcas and dolphins that have to spend their whole lives in tiny enclosures. Even orca behaviour is massively altered. They can spend hours upon hours just swimming in circles, which they would not do in the wild. And another tendency that they've developed in captivity is killing people. All humans who have ever been killed by orcas have been killed in captivity, perhaps telling of the stress that these orcas feel. Even physically they're affected. Dorsal fins in captivity will droop. This is a condition known as fin flop, and this is something that is pretty much never seen in the wild. Dolphins that are trained to interact with people commonly show persistent wounds and abrasions from handling and these interactions, and stereotypic behaviour is not uncommon. But what does the future hold for the interactions between humans and these amazing animals? Personally, I'm optimistic about the long run. SeaWorld has stopped their orca breeding program. and they won't be gaining any new orcas. They do, however, still have some captive animals which the public are still very vocal about. In quite a few countries, however, small cetaceans are still kept in awful conditions where they can interact with people, so this is very far from over. What about whaling, though? Many populations in the wild are recovering from historical whaling, albeit slowly. Grey whales, which during the time of whaling were considered aggressive, can now be considered friendly, even when carving, and sometimes they allow humans to touch them. It's just extraordinary that they have learned that humans are no longer interested in hunting them. Whales are incredibly intelligent animals, and I believe that the world is now moving towards protecting them and will continue to do so.